For nearly 2 decades, Nic Gonzales has been the lead singer, songwriter, and frontman for Salvador, a Dove Award-winning band known for its multicultural pop sounds and rich faith-based messages. Living out of a suitcase was par for the course for Nic and his wife Jackie, also a popular Christian and Latin artist. That was until Zealand was born, their first son, now 10 years old. And a baby has a way of changing, well, everything. The birth of their second son, Soren, followed soon after, and Nic found himself trading a touring bus for a family van, replacing hundreds of dates on the road for millions of moments with his family at home. I visited with Nic and his beautiful brood in their home just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, to converse about stepping out solo on his latest EP, My Life Is Yours, and how parenthood has changed him for the good. This is a Father's Day special of CCM Magazine's Features on Film, and I'm your host, Andrew Greer. Here you are, so kind of this autonomous, the autonomy of an artist's life and living out of a suitcase and a man with a band, and then you become a father 10 years ago.
Yeah.
How does that change? I want to say your life. I don't want to be dramatic, but literally, how does that change your life?
I don't think it's being dramatic. I think that every person should approach fatherhood as a new responsibility in a different way. I think that we can be career driven or ministry driven, and sometimes those things mix. Mm-hmm. And that's a scary thing, I think. My parents being pastors for so many years, and my aunt and uncles being pastors, serving under them, and then aunts and uncles before that. All this, it's like a career ministry thing. Those are very easy to tip one way or the other.
Sure.
And I do not ever have a problem talking with somebody who may feel like they've gone too far one way or the other, where it's the ministry has cost them something at home and or home has cost them something in ministry. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think ever that I would sit back and say, man, I should have really pushed my ministry harder. And I won't worry about the kids. They're small. They can figure it out. It's like none of that stuff is ever going to come out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. And so like you were saying, that I think there's this lens of unpacking your life in different ways. And one thing I never wanted to do was I never wanted to say my suitcase and my guitar case are more important than my family, my diaper bag, and my backpack where I keep all their things. Because once again, at the end of the day, once that new season of your life, we talk about seasons all the time, but a lot of us don't like to approach new seasons. We choose to kind of say, well, this is safe for me. I do this.
That's what I know.
You know what? Grab a guitar and put it on, and I can do this. You put a microphone in front of me, I can pretend like everything's okay right now. Mm-hmm. But it's real life. Children are not, they are not like stage. There's not someone mixing their in-ear monitors. There's not someone there worried about my guitars looking right or my lights being just right or the sound being perfect. I don't have a sound man when it comes to being a dad. Mm-hmm. It's real life. It's diaper bags. It's messes. Mm-hmm. It's, I can't believe you spilled that. Oh, and then going, wait a minute, this is just spilt milk, literally. Why am I worried about this? It's so dumb to worry about it. It's the equivalent to breaking a string on stage.
Yeah.
You go, I can't believe I did this. It ruined my song. Oh man, for 3 minutes my life has been chaotic. Well, try that every single day or every moment. Every moment.
Every single day.
You're like, oh, it's great. It's chaos. It's chaos.
Yeah. But we were talking about how you kind of have to give yourself permission. Like when someone comes and says, hey, you write songs, what are you doing right now? To give yourself permission to really relax into or settle into this place of, for this season, I am dad.
Yeah. At 41 years old, I think that social media and the news and things like that, they draw you into this idea that if you're not, working for the American dream every moment of the day, then you're lazy. Mm-hmm. And I grew up, my dad was a military man. My dad he's Marines. So every moment that we weren't doing something, we were being lazy. I need permission to rest.
Yeah.
I need to give myself permission to rest and to know that, even God, creating the Sabbath, that was just a part of, it's like he almost knew everything. It's like he almost knew everything. He created a day of rest. How does that happen? It's not by chance.
Yeah.
It's not vacation. Sometimes we create rest by going on vacation.
Sure.
Let me just say, vacation is the most stressful thing ever.
Especially with kids.
With kids.
Your ages, right?
And I say ever, meaning I know that's being dramatic, but what I mean is that we try to create a life a la Dave Ramsey at our home, that we don't need to escape anything to be here. This is a simple life that we're living, and we're trying our best to always continue to do that and to give ourselves permission to just sit. Yeah. It doesn't mean sit in front of the TV and be entertained. Sure. It means sit and play cards or to sit and just laugh and talk and these great conversations. Because in my house, if you weren't working, you're being lazy. So I'm just going, let me try to unpack a little bit of this backwards and see if maybe I can do a little better in that. I'm not saying I don't love the life that we had, but as you grow up, you remember the things that stick with you and you go, I'm going to improve on that if I can. I'm not trying to change the wheel, just going to make it a little faster, a little smoother, things like that.
Yeah, well, to create this sanctuary, we so often think of going to, and maybe sometimes that is going to another environment, to the beach or whatever, or going to church, that these are these places we've reserved as sanctuary. But I think what a gift for children to potentially grow up in a place where Sabbath is being exercised because it is a place of sanctuary. You know, I think about the daily routine of your kids, you know, open up the hatches for the chickens and the simple things that create a safe place.
And for them, I think that's creating some of the work idea that in order for them to understand how hard the farmer works, they're getting a little slice of that. One, I did have a little conversation with them and talked about the farmer. Yeah. And because my little one, he wants to be a farmer. He still says it. And I continue to tell him, buddy, this is really hard work. It's not like on TV where you just see people gathering the vegetables. Right. They need to be planted. They need to be cared for. So there's a process that goes along with them. And the reason why I don't do anything for the chickens really, I oversee them so they don't get hurt or cut themselves, or there's nothing really that they can do to hurt themselves or hurt the chickens really, honestly. Sure. But I like to oversee them to make sure they're understanding that there's some work involved, because they will figure out the easiest way to do things. And as a dad, we're to instruct them. It's not always just the easy way. Yeah. So that is part of their work, but their home is not work. We try to clear our world. I try not to spend my hours and hours buried in the studio. Once again, I had to give myself permission for that. Yeah. Everybody's like, well, you got to be writing them songs, man. You got to be writing them hits. It's like, I don't sit around going, I'm going to write a hit today. It just feels like the worst thing to say to yourself. It's like, man, I'm going to, and because music has always been something of a relationship with God and Christ and all those things, it feels spiritual for me to go into a room and say, man, I'm going to write about his goodness. Now, these songs that I have written are about his goodness, but through my family. And so in one of the lines of the songs, it's like, there's simple things that we're doing, like a church hymn. To me, not saying that church hymns are easy, but when I hear a church hymn, it's easy on my soul, as I know I'm talking to the choir here. When I hear a hymn, when you hear a hymn, they're so sweet on our souls. You're not thinking of the chord structure. You're not thinking about the programming. You're not thinking, do I need to be jumping? Right. Do I need to be doing this? Are the lights going with me? Is Ableton following me? But is all of these things, and we make our world complicated. Is my pedal board right? Is it straight? Is it good on the camera? Do I look fine? Am I wearing the right shirt? All of those things make it really complicated on stage. But for some weird reason, when a hymn is being sung, I feel like the whole world can be stripped away and it'll still speak. Yeah. And that's where that idea of just like a church hymn or a handshake. Yeah. You know, it used to be you could do deals, you could sell land, you could buy land, you could buy a car, you could buy a dog. I don't know what you'd buy, but all these things on a handshake. And I find myself that those simple ideas of when you say, yeah, man, I got you. I'll take care of that for you. You don't sit around and go, I wonder if they're going to do it. Right. I wonder if they really meant it. I wonder if I'm really bothering them. They were just trying to get me out of the door. Like, there's all these wonders that happen today. But I guess back in older days, or maybe simpler times, you could say, hey, man, I'll have my man show you your new product, whatever. And you're like, okay, handshake, you're done. Yeah. So I love the thought of that. I wish I almost lived back in those days.
Well, a lot of people will say something about the return to the good old days or whatever. And I think in some ways that's not the healthiest sentiment, but to be able to structure simpler or to reflect simpler times and to be able to structure. I mean, that's what it sounds like, that home can be a place of home, a haven of rest, etc. Yeah. Home also presents its challenges because we're all living inside of it, you know. But I think of your oldest son, Zealand, and his story and his diagnosis with autism. And I am curious how, you know, that one, the news of that or the realization of it, like, were you on the front end of that, or were you kind of cautious and resistant to when you started to see signs like, hey, something is a little different here?
We were definitely on the front end, and I encourage people at any point. The hard thing about children at any point is that they are all very different. But our little guy, when we started kind of noticing, you know, you have all these little charts that they give you, like he should be saying 5 words by now. What we noticed immediately was not necessarily him not saying words the way, not saying words, was that he wasn't saying the words with accuracy the way we felt like they should be said. We're not doctors. I love telling people I am not a doctor, so I don't know. But we kind of noticed, we're like, his words were very rounded and not very sharp. So this is a detail to something that's much bigger. But that, to answer your question, that allowed us to raise a couple of flags in our minds and said, let's just go see what's going on. And so after we took him to the pediatrician and we talked to him, her a little bit, we took him to a specialist. And they were saying, well, there's a little bit of a speech delay. And they're like, okay, that's delay. Okay, we got that. All right. And my wife often and we talk about it. A delay means you're behind, but you can catch up.
You'll get there, yeah.
So this is where they became a little scarier, is when we were like, well, he didn't meet this milestone either. His motor skills are good. And so all of a sudden we were becoming experts. And as you would know, like anything else, when you become passionate about something, it becomes who you are. We found ourselves going through books and being handed books by doctors, our doctors that we trusted. And even some of that, we were like, maybe this is this. So anyway, a long story. This could be a 5-hour talk about this.
Sure.
But what we started to realize was by hitting it head on, we were able to get in really early with him and allow him to be able to succeed in the things that he was able to do. And there's a huge spectrum of children that are on this, and we've learned this as we've gone. And depending on where your child lands is dependent on what actions you'll take. No one will be able to say, oh, this is what you should do for Zealand. And I have to admit, the autism community has embraced the idea that we're here to support the people, but not here to tell you what to do. And so we're the same way. We advocate for it. We watch other children and go, oh, okay, cool. I get it. It's not my job to go and go, oh, this is what we do with our Zealand. This makes it really easy, or this is what happens in our house. We're there to go, okay, that parent might be a little embarrassed that their baby didn't say hello or doesn't look us in the eye. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to make this situation super comfortable. We know how to take care of this. So I have many times walked to children that do not make eye contact. That's one of they say the telltale signs. But we'll walk to a child that doesn't, and I will just introduce myself knowing I'm going to get no response. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean they're not listening. We've learned that. So all of these little things in our lives, and if we can continue to help people understand that, that's our job. But at the same time, with this elegance of Christianity, of showing love, it doesn't mean you have to be a Christian to be able to show love.
Sure.
But it gives us... Go ahead.
No. Well, the motivation.
The motivation.
Yeah, of why and how to love. Yeah.
The motivation of why and how to love has been so spelled out for us. We do feel like we have an upper hand. We are the experts at this. We're not the experts at autism. We're not doctors, but we are the experts at knowing that Christ gave us a full-on manual of how to love.
Do you feel like Zealand's challenges has influenced the way you love? Even others, or yourself, or your wife Jackie, or your other son Soren?
See, that's where like the idea of everything will work itself for good at some point. I think it has taught me to slow down and be understanding with more than just my Zealand and or my Soren. I think my Soren, my little guy, I think he absorbs some more responsibilities, even though he's the younger brother, and smaller. But he has absorbed some new responsibilities. And I think that what's created for me is the heart, I believe as God would have it, of understanding. Not all of us are equipped to be able to do A, B, or C in the Father's eyes, but yet the Father will look at you and realize that that person is making their best effort and will honor that. So when people say things to me like, hey, Nick, man, I really want to play music and sing on big stages, and I want to be in, I constantly encourage people, serve where you are. Serve where you are. Because if that's where God will honor that just as much as the people that you may think he's honoring more
Sure.
by being on big stages. And I think that it takes a big stage for you to walk your way backwards and go, oh yeah, I really didn't need that to be a good servant of Christ. I could have done it here and been the same servant. So I think that that's what we're talking about when we talk about with my Zealand and my Soren. I think that my patience with him is understanding he may have some limitations, but those same things at work there, the understanding and the love and the things that I give, I think that I love Soren differently, better because of that. I think I love Jackie because I see her working so hard towards something, and I have to almost arrest her and say, honey, you need to rest too. So the idea of the heart of a father, you're watching all these things. You're more qualified, or you have a different skill set, so I'm gonna let you do your skill set and honor the house. You're gonna do your skill set. Like my Zealand, he's a bigger boy, and he's strong. And it doesn't mean that he's the guy that does all the manual labor, but I also know like he can help me physically go do things that maybe little brother can't.
Yeah.
Regardless of what his quote unquote limits. Man, we don't think about that stuff. He's getting to work as much as he knows to do. Same thing with Soren. He's our farmer. He takes care of business. He has checklists. He's very organized. A lot of people say he's like me, and that he's very diligent about his duties. So I find myself loving them and then stepping back even further and going, I need to love them because it's the gift God gave me. It's my gift. They're my gift. It's what they do.
I hear, when you're talking about seeing the strengths of each member of your family and then motivating those and enhancing them and highlighting them and encouraging them, that sounds like a shepherd. I'm thinking about the ways that fatherhood could potentially reflect, who God is. And I think of shepherding your family.
For me, I think one of the things that had been lost in my personal life after you leave your home and then you begin to travel and minister on your own is the idea that creating disciples, even in your own home, is so important. My mom and dad, although they were pastors, and I would say this if they were sitting here, I felt like sometimes we were so busy with church, I wasn't necessarily being discipled. I wasn't being raised. I was expected to be the man of God that my mom and dad dreamt me to be, but I wasn't necessarily instructed to. So I found myself that after leaving my mom and dad's home, when I was on the road, I found mentors. Now, this is where I believe this is really important. Mentors speak into my life in a son to father thing, because shepherd is not the father. It is, but what you're saying is that shepherd is someone that can, so even like a mentor. Well, these mentors then began to pour into me and give me great books to read from. So I found myself where I was like, whoa, this was missing. Like, I didn't have this talk with my parents. I guess it was just assumed that because I went to church every Sunday morning, Sunday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Friday night, that I knew this, but I didn't know this. So I'm sitting there drinking this, trying to be open-minded. That's how God created me. I'm very open-minded about things when it comes to like, oh man, that's what I've been doing wrong. Oh, I'm so stupid. I can't believe I did that. Oh yeah, that's why this never worked for me. So I'm reading these books and I'm dying. I'm talking about leadership books and spiritual books. And we talked about books earlier. I love books. And so anyway, I found myself where I needed to disciple my children. Not just go, well, we go to church.
Sure.
Sunday school's got it figured out for me. I get to worship. I pack it all away. It's like every day I do my best to go, okay, wait a minute. Okay, now here's a great lesson. Hey, guys, at this time, and so all of a sudden they're like going, and now I'm hearing it out of my sons when, my buddy, my son, I call him buddy, he broke his wrist. And I told him, I said, honey, are you doing, I was on the phone, I was in New York City. I said, honey, are you doing okay? He said, uh-huh. I said, did it hurt? He goes, yeah, it hurt, but I'm strong. And I said, yeah, you are strong. I said, but don't worry about it. Jesus made our body. He goes, oh, I know. Like he almost cut me off like that. I got it.
I got this.
I got this.
Yeah.
But he was strong because I told him. He was strong because I have put that as part of his life. And he knew Jesus was going to take care of him because he did. I got it. He had it. So I talked to him the next day. I said, did it hurt, buddy? He goes, yeah, but I'm okay. The doctor says I'm going to be better fast. I was like, yeah, you are because you're strong. He's like, I know. That was it. I didn't have to go, in the Bible, it said this, or in Sunday school. It was like he was strong because he knew it. That's as a dad, that's the good stuff. Yeah.
I'm a shade tree father, a preacher's son. I like to go to bed late, still watch the rising sun. I want my boys to grow up strong, but always be my baby. My wife, she keeps me sane, but she still drives me crazy. Ooh, it don't look like much on paper, these treasures we're building, they can't be bought or sold. It's a simple life we're living, like church hymns or a handshake, or man's word that it won't bring, man that never gets old. It ain't something you can measure, but it's good as gold. I'm that Mustang brother, still my mama's son. I like to live it up and laugh too much, but I love to get the job done. I wanna grow old and know that I did the best I can. I hope my boys see Jesus when they look at that old man. Ooh, it don't look like much on paper, these treasures that we're building, they can't be bought or sold. It's a simple life we're living, like church hymns or a handshake, or man's word that it won't break, man that never gets old. It ain't something you can measure, but it's good as gold. God, if you're building me a mansion, don't go wasting it on me. Just as long as there's a backyard and a table for my family, and I don't mind that crystal river as long as fishing is allowed on Saturdays. Some people's dreams are bigger, but mine are richer in simple ways. It don't look like much on paper, these treasures that we're building, they can't be bought or sold. It's a simple life we live, like church hymns or handshake or man's word that he won't bring. Man, that never gets old. It ain't something you can measure, but it's good as gold.